Welcome to Jamaica Daily Brief. Over the next two videos, we are breaking down the most debated policy decision in Jamaica right now, the Memorandum of Understanding between the government of Jamaica and the United States to accept third country nationals. This is part one. We will cover what the agreement actually says and how it came to exist. Part two will cover the arguments for and against, and the historical warning that some analysts are now raising. Everything you will hear is drawn from named, verifiable sources: the Jamaica Gleaner, the Jamaica Observer, the Jamaica Information Service, the Associated Press, ABC News, and official government statements. This is not opinion. This is context. First up, what are third country nationals, and what does this MOU say? A third country national, or TCN, is a person being deported from the United States who is not an American citizen and not a citizen of the country they are being sent to. Under the Trump administration's immigration enforcement policy, the U.S. has been negotiating with countries around the world to accept these individuals. People who in many cases have no connection to the receiving country, no family there, and in some instances do not speak the language. Jamaica signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the United States Department of Homeland Security on June 10, 2026. Under the terms of the agreement, the U.S. may transfer up to 25 foreign nationals to Jamaica every 2 weeks. The arrangement automatically pauses if more than 10 individuals remain on the island at any one time. The MOU excludes unaccompanied minors and individuals convicted of serious criminal offenses, with the important qualifier that this exclusion applies, and these are the document's own words, quote, to the extent known to the U.S. government. The United States will pay all costs associated with the program. Jamaica is working with the International Organization for Migration to secure appropriate accommodations. The MOU is not a binding legal treaty. Either country may terminate it at any time. No transfers begin until operational guidelines between both governments are finalized. Turning now to the controversy over who initiated this agreement. National Security Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Dr. Horace Chang told Parliament that this arrangement was a United States request. He said, and I quote, "TCN is an American request. They have done so with several allies across the region and throughout the world. So it is their challenge that they are trying to resolve in a humane way." However, a diplomatic note from the United States Embassy in Kingston, reported by the Jamaica Gleaner, tells a different story. That note names Minister without portfolio Audrey Marks as having proposed the arrangement to a U.S. Department of Homeland Security official at the Americas Counter-Cartel Conference in Miami on March 5, 2026. The note stated that Minister Marks made the proposal for a third country national arrangement that would have Jamaica receive up to 10,000 third country nationals from the United States. Minister Marks, when asked by the Gleaner about her role, confirmed only that she supported the MOU as part of a cabinet-approved process. The government has firmly maintained that the figure of 10,000 was never agreed to, and that the operational cap of 25 persons per fortnight is the binding figure. This contradiction between what the minister told Parliament and what the U.S. Embassy documented is at the center of the public outcry. In Part 2, we will examine the arguments for and against this agreement, and why analysts are drawing a direct comparison to what happened to Jamaica in the 1970s, when the United States last used economic pressure to influence the country's political direction. First up, the case in support of the agreement. The government, led by Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness and National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang, points to three justifications. First, Jamaica is not alone. The Dominican Republic, Antigua and Barbuda, Belize, St. Kitts, Barbados, Panama, and Costa Rica have all signed similar arrangements. Second, the United States bears all costs. Jamaica spends nothing accommodating or processing anyone transferred under the deal. Third, the numbers are capped and controlled. The program pauses automatically once more than 10 individuals remain on the island, And in other countries with similar agreements, roughly 94% of transferees are eventually returned home. The MOU is not legally binding. Either side can walk away. Turning now to the case against the agreement. Critics, including UWI lecturer Damian Gordon, opposition senators, and members of the Diaspora, raised three core concerns. First, a U.S. federal court ruled this third country removal policy unlawful in February 2026. Jamaica is embedding itself in a framework an American court has already called unconstitutional. Second, the human cost is already on record. Orville Etoria, a Jamaican who lived in the U.S. for nearly 50 years, was not deported to Jamaica but to Eswatini, a country where he had no ties, and detained for 2 months in a maximum security prison before Jamaica negotiated his release. Third, the language of the policy itself is alarming. Secretary of State Marco Rubio described the people targeted under these agreements as, quote, some of the most despicable human beings, and closing with the warning from history that Jamaicans cannot afford to ignore. This is not the first time Jamaica has stood at this exact crossroads. In the 1970s, Prime Minister Michael Manley aligned Jamaica with Cuba and supported Cuban troops in Angola. The United States made him pay for it. U.S. aid was cut off without warning. American banks shut their doors. Washington worked to discourage tourists from coming to the island, starving the lifeblood of the Jamaican economy. International credit dried up. The Jamaican dollar collapsed. Food prices soared. Unemployment spiraled. By the end of the decade, the country Manley once led with hope was in economic freefall. It did not stop there. The 1980 election season left more than 800 Jamaicans dead. Garrison communities became battlegrounds. A small Caribbean nation became a casualty of a Cold War fight it never asked for, because its leader chose a foreign policy Washington did not approve of. That is what American economic retaliation has actually looked like on Jamaican soil, in living memory. Not a headline, not an abstraction. Empty shelves, lost jobs, bodies in the street. Now, in 2026, that history is being invoked again, pointed in the opposite direction. The fear today is not what happens if Jamaica defies Washington, but what happens if it does not comply. Some believe wholeness looked at what happened to Manley and made the only rational choice for a small, debt-exposed economy: cooperate or risk history repeating under a Trump administration unafraid to use tariffs and economic pressure as blunt instruments. Others argue this is exactly how it always starts: a justification, a sense of no choice, a government deciding for the people instead of with them. They argue that is precisely the dynamic that cost Jamaica so much the last time, with the public told the true stakes only after the damage was done. Two lessons drawn from the same scar tissue, both grounded in what actually happened to this country. Jamaicans deserve to know that history before deciding what they believe should happen now. Please subscribe and share both parts of this series with someone who needs to understand what is at stake. We will see you tomorrow.